Well, hey there, hi there, and most importantly, ho there. Hey everyone, it's Brian Zane here, and welcome to the Smackdown Review Live. It is Friday, March 12th, 2021. It is well, first of all, before we get into the reason why we're talking about today, I just want to show off my cool new lid, my Maccabia Mania genuine article. This is, hold on, let me see if I can show you guys. Grappling for Gelt. This is one of the holdover merchandise pieces from the first Maccabia Mania, which of course was talked about in Grandmasters of Wrestling. And Jeff Buchan's is selling these. They're a bit more expensive than I like, but I got this. He's got a poster and shirts and stuff. It's great. I'm so happy to have that little piece of history. But yeah, not only are we talking about SmackDown tonight, also today is the 50th anniversary of my first match, one where I took on Buzz the Beast Anderson in Portland, Oregon. And I have more to talk about with that as we get to it, including you get to see that entire first match in its entirety. There's an abridged version of it in the Regrettable Matches playlist, but the first time you get to see it, the whole shebang. And boy, let me tell you, it's worth it. But let's start talking about SmackDown. Let's see how this whole thing is shook down. We open the show with Edge making his way to the ring. He talks about him being a carpenter of the table of which Roman Reigns is the head of. He turns his attention to Daniel Bryan for what Daniel said last week about how much he loves wrestling, and that's why he deserves to go to WrestleMania in the main event. Edge says it doesn't matter because he also loves it. Therefore, his love trumps Daniel's love, I think is what he was trying to get at. Daniel Bryan shows up, and he says, he didn't want to go into what could be his last WrestleMania. Interesting phrasing because he repeated it more than once. He doesn't want to go to what could be his last WrestleMania on the back burner, so he'll do whatever it takes. And talks about him going into business for himself. You think the ultimate opportunist would appreciate or respect that. But he talks about how he did that because, it's not about Edge. Edge's spot in the match is secure. He wants his spot, so he's going to do what he can to get it. But then Edge is just like, well, I don't like how you did this. I don't like how you went about it, even though you did the same thing I would have done, And he's like, you're better than this, but you're not better than me. Yeah, I kind of agree with Edge, but at the same time, maybe don't get mad at Daniel Bryan for, finding a loophole. Get mad at WWE for booking 2 pay-per-views between the Rumble and Mania. What a weird promo off with these guys here. It's hard to know who we're supposed to cheer for, I guess. I don't think we're going to get a double turn between Edge and Roman Reigns. So it's not like I don't understand how Edge would benefit from a heel turn per se, but that's where it seems to be leaning. It's hard to know who we were supposed to cheer for between these two. What is their beef? Edge's spot is guaranteed. Daniel Bryan's right. It just felt that both guys were kind of off with this one. And I know there's the possibility of a triple threat still. That seems to be where it's leaning, I would imagine. But it's it's weird to see how they're going at it here. It just felt kind of off for Edge especially. Edge has been great with promos, but I feel since coming back after the Rumble, he's been kind of off his game, it feels like. So our first match of the evening, as you see the graphics below, got an 8-man tag as the Street Profits and the Male Stereos take on the tag team champions Rudolph and Alpha Academy, which has Otis and Chad Gable. So for whatever reason, after their bitter rivalry that dominated so much of late 2019, early 2020 on SmackDown, Otis and Dolph Ziggler are teaming up. They're on a tag team together after all they've been through. I could not believe that. What even is continuity anymore? And it's never addressed. You can address it in a single promo. We didn't even get that. Near the end of the match, great save by Dominic, because at one point he almost screws up his tornado DDT, but he recovers. Dawkins with a hot tag in. There's 2 hot tags here. It's a tale of 2 matches, basically, because Dawkins with the hot tag in. Ford gets tagged in, goes to the splash, but he's tossed out onto the floor. Takes a lot of the heat after the break. Ray gets the second hot tag, and we got all sorts of crazy spots. Just bam, bam, bam near the end. Everyone getting their shit in. Dominic and Ray each dive outside. Ford from the heavens, turning in midair onto Rude to win. Oh, the match was fine. I liked the match, and the finish was fire. But my biggest complaint about the match was, again, why are Otis and Dolph teaming together? How can we believe that's even possible after everything we saw last year? Come on. They showed a recap of the bump this week when Molly Holly was announced as the first inductee of the 2021 Hall of Fame, which is awesome. I think that the video of Helms like do the tearful announcement to Molly was so sweet and so cool. I can imagine like there's no way Molly couldn't read the room and figure out what Edge was what Helms was getting at, because you could see it wasn't until he said her name as the inductee did she react and respond. But come on, like under any circumstance, would you look at what your good friend is doing, saying the first inductee of the Hall of Fame is going to be, I don't know, who else can he say? Shannon Moore. I don't know. Like, you know, so kudos to Molly if she was able to figure that out to restrain herself until the name was actually announced. Um, so yeah, Molly Holly's inducted, and I think it's great. I think it's really awesome. She is definitely one of those like standard bearers of the women or the female workers during a time when, you know, how being a good wrestler was not even second place in priority when it came to like being a good lady wrestler in WWE. So for her to be, and you know, she carried a lot of ladies to a lot of great matches, including, you know, people who needed to be helped along, like Trish Stratus and people like that. So I think it's yeah, Molly Holly was a great boon for the business, and especially women's wrestling in America during a time when, you know, workhorses definitely, you know, and the skilled wrestlers needed to be there. So absolutely, yay, Holly being in the Hall of Fame. That's really awesome. We see backstage Jey Uso meeting up with Paul Heyman outside Roman's locker room, lets him know he shouldn't be around for Roman for a bit after what happened last week. Heyman looking like he's trying to defuse a potential situation, or maybe he's being asked by one too many of the boys about their PO for the night. We see backstage an interview with Seth Rollins in his Scotch tape inspired suit, the black and green plaid. That was very nice, kind of like getting ready for St. Patrick's Day, kind of like what this is, I guess. Coincidentally, he wanted to just help Cesaro, but he's been mocked for the swing ever since. Calls Cesaro the biggest waste of space or waste of potential in WWE. And hearing that on the heels of Andrade requesting his release, it's like, hey, you know, it's you know, column A, column B. So then Kayla informs Seth that, oh, Cesaro and Murphy are having a rematch tonight. And Seth goes, guess I'll do some interfering tonight, which he didn't really say that, but it was very heavily implied by the body language. I like Pygmalion's comment here. If Shannon were to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, he'd throw the Dillagaff book at him. Oh, yes, the book of Dillagaff. Nia Jax takes Reginald on a shopping spree, and Shayna is playing third wheel, which I think is hilarious. He's basically Nia's sugar baby, which is an interesting dynamic here, and Shayna doesn't want to be there. It's, you know, him modeling all the suits is pretty funny. Cesaro versus Murphy's up next. Seth at ringside to watch the match. A couple minutes in, after Cesaro gets a couple of spots in, he hits the swing, but Seth attacks him, and the match is thrown out. Hits two stomps, talks much trash, and since he's not in his level, goes to Pillmanize his neck, but the officials stop him. Jamie Noble physically has to stop Seth Rollins from doing it, which I think is one of the few times you will see an official like actually get physically impeding a wrestler's progress. So I think that was interesting. I think, and then I will say after that happens, we see Seth in the back and he encounters Shinsuke Nakamura, who just stares at him. And I guess that implies we're going to have a match with them next week, but I'm like, why couldn't Shinsuke, was he not there? Like he couldn't just run out and make the save for Cesaro? That I thought was a little weird. I mean, if he's there, he wants to bang up a suit. So yeah, I thought it was a good little segment, you know, a great beatdown and a great sell to beatdown too by Rollins or by Cesaro. And Rollins' like trash talk afterward, I think was pretty on point too. We see Sami Zayn running into Kevin Owens backstage, and Sami invites him to be part of his documentary, and Kevin says he'll think about it. I like how they can occasionally have Kevin and Sami interact now without them beating you over the head about their on and off rivalry. Like they don't have to do it every time. So I think that's nice. Water break. We get the KO show with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Kevin Owens brings up that the last time, you know, a main event for WrestleMania had tag team champions facing off for a singles championship was John Cena and Shawn Michaels, and a fine dandy of a match too, except for when John decided to stop selling his leg. Bianca and Sasha argue about Reginald getting mixed up in their business, and Sasha is very full of herself and says that she paved the way for Bianca. Sasha says she's going to walk in and out of WrestleMania as two belts Banks, and Bianca says, you know, you may have paved the road, but I stay in my own lane. And then Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Reggie interrupt, and then like Natalya and Tamina make their entrance, and then I guess the interview segment's over. Like there was no closure to that bit at all, where it's like, if I were Kevin Owens, I'd be pissed, where my show was not only interrupted upon, because you hear him say like, I didn't invite these ladies, and then like the next team comes out and it's like, well, I guess we're out of time. Like we didn't get. I was mad for Kevin Owens in that one. So yeah, we go to our next matchup. You've got oh yeah, by the way, these promos with Sasha and Bianca, I don't know how much more of the build I want of this, because like it's been so like nothing about it feels very good right now. And we'll get into the match. I'll talk about more about this after the match, I guess. Sasha and Bianca versus Tamina and Natalya, champs on commentary. Nice coordinated outfits, by the way, from Bianca and Natalya, the welcoming committee. Reginald, I'm looking at my notes, and my Reginald autocorrected to regionals. The Tri-State Regionals. Reginald models his suit on the announce table. Then he runs through the ring as he's being chased by Sasha, and basically it stops Bianca from getting a pin, and Tamina rolls her up and pins her, and you have Sasha and Bianca fighting. And like my big thing is why. It's just all so dumb. Like we're getting very repetitive promos from these ladies, I feel, where it's just like, I'm the best. I'm the EST. I'm the best, though. Yeah, but I'm the EST. And it's been like that every time. Like, I don't know how we can sustain this angle, this feud, which should be good on paper in the ring, but I feel their gimmicks are almost too similar, I would think. And that's why we're getting these promos that just feel like it's just they're not clicking the way I feel that they should. It is unfortunate. And yeah, so you've got these two ladies who have a kind of incompatible promo style, or it's like it's not really productive. And then you've got Reginald thrown in there as kind of, the sugar baby for Nia Jax, kind of doing their dirty work for them. And it's like, this needs to be better. And like, why are they even losing matches? I feel that, you're going to have this match be a main event for one of the nights of WrestleMania, you would think. So why would you book these ladies to be losing? I don't get it, especially when every time they team up together, they lose. Why are they still contending for the tag titles? Just on so many levels, this does not make any sense. But let me tell you how I feel. So we've got the return of the Intercontinental Champion, Big Epsilon. The Intercontinental Champion is back after Apollo took him out with the steps a few weeks ago. He comes walking out with a bunch of bandages, like a neck brace and a crutch, but he takes it all off. Like he shakes it off as he's making his entrance. And he says this promo is so good here. He says that Apollo opened Pandora's box and there's no apology that can fix this. He says, you're going to make me go biblical, go Old Testament on you. And like, there's so many emotions and like words I can use to describe this, angry, passionate, vengeful, conflicted, emotional, intense. The conflicted one is the one that caught me the most, because you could see like he was holding back almost tears, or this feeling of rage where it's like it's a place that he's not used to being. And so I think that was a really, really convincing promo. I think that's probably one of the best ones I've heard him do in a long time. And we know he can talk. And I think this was a very cool promo by him. So he basically calls Apollo out, and he wants to, fight him for the title, but Apollo doesn't respond. And he goes, well, I'm still going to fight somebody, so let's have an open challenge. King Corbin comes out wearing a suit and says, I have no problem getting this suit dirty to beat you up. And then before he can really finish the sentence, though, Sami Zayn just barges out, hey, I'm going to accept this challenge. And so Big E goes like, first one to the ring gets the match. And so Sami just bolts for it and gets in there. He gets his match. I do like this little dynamic between Sami and Corbin. It's a heel rivalry, but they're not fighting each other at this point. And I think like their personalities work together. I think they're these two different kinds of heels, but they're both kind of cowardly, but their personalities just work this way where they can't get along and there's constantly in each other's way. I think it's hilarious. So then we've got Big E versus Sami Zayn, relatively short match. Big E steamrolls through him, hits the big ending to retain. Then Apollo Crews music plays. Interesting blocking here by Big E, because first he's like looking toward the entrance, and then for no real reason, maybe we didn't see it, but maybe Sammy did something to distract him because E's just turned around and fixated on something opposite end from the entrance to allow Apollo to hit him from behind, which I thought was very weird because it's usually the opposite of how it happens. Like the wrestler looks at the entrance and then gets hit from behind by the wrestler coming through the crowd. I don't know. So anyway, Apollo beats him down some more, hits a couple of big slams, picks up the steel steps and clatters Big E with them. I thought it was a good return for Big E, the promo and the match. Apollo still looking like a threat big time here in this one. I thought that was very well done. We get Reginald and Nia backstage, and Reggie convincing Nia to challenge Sasha for the women's championship next week. And Nia's definitely flirting with him, and so we'll see how that all plays out. That's next week. Your main event segment here is a contract signing between Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan for their match at Fastlane. Roman says he's not going to sign the contract. He's not worth it, he says. And then, like, this has to be the shortest, like, I feel this is the shortest contract signing in the history of like wrestling. This was by really fast because Daniel like goads Roman into it by saying, I've done what you couldn't even do, and I made Jey Uso quit last week. And as soon as he says that, just the smile on Roman's face just melts away, and it's instant like glower. You can see his like cheek muscles twitching and shit. It was very cool moment to see that, just that switch. And so Daniel's like, he's really relishing in this. He's like, maybe I am the new tribal chief. Maybe I am the new head of the table, the head of the Samoan family. And that convinces Roman to finally, sign the contract and everything. And so afterward, Daniel says he'll make Roman quit at Fastlane like he made Jey Uso quit. Jey has had enough, throws the table out of the ring, and basically says, he'll be the guest enforcer for their match at the pay-per-view. Then Edge appears and makes a challenge for his first match on SmackDown in 11 years to Jey Uso, and the winner will become the special enforcer at Fastlane. And then they all has fight. Edge shoves Bryan away while he's fighting Roman, turns around and takes the high knee, and we're getting an Edge match on TV next week, which is pretty dope. For a contract signing, I think it was a really well done, very to the point segment. There was no lengthy speeches. It was, I think they got to show their personalities. It was a lot of fun. It was a positive segment. And I think that overcame what we saw with Daniel and Edge earlier in the night. That is what I say about that. So moving the plot along, hunky dory. I mean, I get why there's tension with Daniel and Edge. I just feel that Edge's rebuttals aren't very good. I think they're both kind of like, I think Edge has fewer valid points than Bryan does at this point. Daniel's just using the system to his benefit is all I'm saying. Oh, let's see here. Thank you all so much for watching so far. 365 people are watching this, and thank you all so much for your super chat contributions. I will read those when we start the match. But now it is time for the grade. C- is what I give this one. I liked Big E's return and the stuff he did with Apollo afterward. I'm really liking this new attitude of Apollo. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. And like I said, the contract signing was probably the best, non-wrestling moment of the night. I wanted to give the 8-man tag some love in the pros, but ultimately I was like, I still stuck in my craw too much that Otis and Ziggler were teaming up, So, I mean, I loved the action in the matchup, but just the logic of them teaming up blew my mind, or the lack of logic, I guess. And then, Sasha and Bianca, I'm hating what they're doing, like a lot of the time. They shouldn't be losing. They shouldn't be in a position to lose if they're trying to build them up as a credible main event. So with that out of the way, let me know your grades in the chat while we're going. And 15 years ago. Thank you for your well wishes, by the way. Let's see here. We are going to go into the match very soon. I'm just going to make sure it's queued up. Let me close this here window. Yes, that's ready to go. And I just hope to God the audio works. I was testing this out before, and I don't know. I'm saying C, D+, D+, C+. Tag team is meh. Big E's promo was, I think, the best thing. The best promo itself easily goes to Big E. Like it was a different side that we'd not seen before. Not even on Talking Smack, where like I feel that the minute anyone does like a somewhat out of character promo or something that's not their usual style, it's like, give them the title. I saw a great tweet the other day where it's like, anytime somebody speaks for more than 60 seconds on Raw Talk, it's just a still of the Hard Times promo. Like, oh, they have a speech, then they're automatically getting, they should be pushing. So let's see here. Let us go now. So yeah, let's get some context here. 15 years ago today, I had my very first match at, well, that I count, and I'll talk about that in a second. My first official match at what was then called Rock and Roll Pizza in Portland, Oregon for Championship Pro Wrestling. And I was a fresh-faced 21-year-old lad. I'd been training for a couple of years at Buddy and Ed's school. And then, I had a tryout match in front of the promoter, Kevin Brandt, for CPW, and he booked the two of us, and we each had separate matches. And so my first match was against a guy named Buzz Anderson, who'd been around for a while, and I guess I can talk more about the details of the match as we go on. But yeah, that was kind of how I got my first booking, was just kind of like asking for it, getting a little tryout in front of the promoter, and somehow convincing him I was good enough to get a match. So it's crazy to think of where I was 15 years ago. It's like I was still in college, and I was, just trying my best. I felt that I was kind of in the middle of the road when it came to the other students I trained with, where it's like I knew I wasn't a great wrestler, but I knew I was a better talker. And I knew that as bad as I was at wrestling, there were a lot of people who were there for longer than me who were a lot worse. So I felt good about myself in that regard. So here we go. 15 years ago today. And here we go. I'm just going to pull this up, and that's the context. And we'll play more of this matchup here. More chatter. It's March 12th. I always forget the anniversary, so I want to make sure I got it this time. So there's Buzz Anderson. I vividly remember him talking about that shirt, the Tito's Gym. He's like, the fact that I'm wearing a gym shirt is the biggest rib. Also, the reason you might hear some non-trade, some royalty-free music under here is to cover up Peter Gabriel's Big Time. Is there an audio? Let's see here. Can you guys not hear it? Where is the audio? Shoot. Why am I not getting audio? Well, now it's not even playing. That's great. Oh my goodness gracious. Why aren't you give me it? Okay. No audio. It's okay. There's not much to hear. It's like I'm not too worried, but I should try and get it to work. Why can't I get it to work? No, I want the audio. Can y'all hear me? Can you at least hear me? That's all that matters at this point. I can give you commentary. I can give you insight. No chest hair. Oh, you wouldn't believe how much chest hair there is. You just can't tell. That was not a Jamarcus Russell jersey. That was just a custom Bryan Zane jersey I got made. So yeah, here we are. Buzz Anderson. Tito, by the way, was Tito Carrion, who was a trainer in like Beaverton for a long time. He helped a lot of people, up and comers. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know why it's so choppy too. It's coming in clear on my end, like from my side of it. So yeah, this is Rock and Roll Pizza. I believe I was the second match on the card. Am I the heel? No, I am the babyface here. I'm plucky young rookie babyface. Bryan Zane, look at that slap. So like, by the way, there's an abridged version of this with like commentary from me and my editor Izzy in the Regrettable Matches playlist. But this is the entire match. So I cut out all the worst bits, which whatever, you'll see. So so the reason I don't count the first match, the real first match I did, which was like the shiny pants one, is because it was like, that was backyard, doesn't count. It was like as close to backyard as I ever got. Because even though it had kind of the blessing of Buddy and Ed, and they borrowed their ring, the people we were working alongside with were just like, we were the best matches of the night actually on that one. But no, I still don't count it. This is like Yeah, this is the real one. Oh, that was Strick walking past. He was the photographer. Yeah, I believe that Rock and Roll Pizza is now just a regular bar. It's like a rock show bar. Like that's the stage up there and everything. Yeah, look at how I'm cinched it in there. This, by the way, my dad was filming this. It's I mentioned in the regrettable match. It's like one of the only matches my dad ever attended. I think it was this and probably my first TV match that I had like the next month against Paul Zadora, which for a while canonically was my first match here on this channel, but it's not. It was like my second or third. It's only because I found this footage again, like, oh, okay, I can reintroduce this as my first match. Is the ref still alive? I don't know. I don't remember him. How old was I? I was 21 years old. I had turned 21 2 months prior to this. Do I keep in contact with any of the guys? Yeah. In fact, Buzz Anderson and I still chat pretty semi-regularly on the Facebook. God, yeah, we're working these hammer locks like a motherfucker. This is crazy. Sorry, and for those who's just tuning in, sorry there's no audio in the match. It's not that special anyway. So, except for like grunt I just made. It was let's see here. Which match had the worst dropkick that made me never want to do one again? That was against Mustafa Saeed, one half of the Gangstas. So, did I use the burning hammer? No, I didn't. Doesn't Buzz Anderson remind you of CW? Kinda. It'd be like if CW Anderson and Ole Anderson had a kid. Then they'd have Buzz Anderson. You know what? He'll hate me for saying this, but I think Buzz's greatest claim to fame in Oregon was he was wrestling a match for Portland, and one of his balls fell out of his singlet. Just fell right out. And it was all on camera, and they had to I don't know. It was weird, man. But you're great. You're great, Buzz. Oh, backbreaker. My God. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a point in my career where for some reason, I oversold everything, and I just kind of died. It wasn't something I really had a grasp on how to improve until like almost the time I was done. I wrestled for about a year on and off. Almost a year to the day after I debuted as a wrestler, I became a manager. So I think I took the better path of that one. And I don't want to, I've never tried to. I don't mean to propagate this idea that I was hitting the towns and doing the loop and everything, because back then I wasn't. I was super I inhibited myself. I think it's the biggest thing. That's something I kind of regret now as I'm older. Is I wish I had the chance to I went out there and just try to make more talents and stuff and try and get more experience, even if it didn't pay. I was kind of under this impression that's well, I've done my training and now I'm supposed to get paid, and that's how it is. That's what my teachers taught me. That's what they told me. It's when you've graduated from here, you've paid your dues. That's what they told me, and I was naive enough to believe that and just believe that well, I'm good because my work ethic wasn't very strong then. So. Yeah, I wish I had done more of that. So it's not like I had a ton of matches under my belt when I retired. I wrestled probably once a month on average, once or twice a month. So it wasn't as frequent. But I never tried to, pretend that I was somebody who had a lot of experience. But, I have experience. And I think, it's and by the time I finished wrestling, I felt I'd come a bit of a way. Still wasn't at a very good level. Yeah, wrestling, that's how I roll, Rose, right? It's pretty interesting. I tried wrestling while going to college. I felt it was the best. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. 21-year-old Bryan. That's timeless, man. The sea walk in the middle of a match, a la Road Dogg, instead of doing the shuffle with the worst worst jabs ever. Here we go. This is one of the few things I could do well for a while was chops. And also, whipping people into the ropes. It's a lost art. It's a very detailed thing. Let's see here. What's like taking a backbreaker? It's fine. If you take it right, if your feet come down at the same time they do, then you're not doing anything. What was my major? I majored in journalism. And so with an emphasis, look at that DDT. With an emphasis in electronic media, basically video production, which has kind of helped parlay into this whole channel gig I have. And Yeah, this is great. What else is going on here? Yeah, here we go. This is time. Here's the finish. Boom. Some NWA style. And like, even if I don't even think he put his shoulder up, I don't even think he did that. But no, like, I mean, Portland and Eugene, it's like a 2-hour bus ride. And I was like, I had the disposable income and I was able to go up whenever I could and do the thing training, man. And like, that's the best for me. It was the best time to do it. I was a legal adult, so I didn't have to have my parents give me shit for it. So yeah, so in case you couldn't tell, Buzz won because he got his shoulder up from the backbreaker. I keep forgetting there's no audio for that one. So I'll talk a little more about the wrestling school thing in a second. So he's basically talking shit to me and saying that, oh, I thought Buddy and Ed would have taught you better, but you know what? At the next show at the Milwaukee Elks Lodge, you can pick a partner and we'll have a match and da-da-da. And so and that match sucked. And I wish I could get footage of that too, because I was really bad in that one. And the partner was Latino Blanco, who was this white dude named Lone Star, who had a cowboy gimmick. Then he wore a mask and wore like white body covering and like a poncho. And he came out to Oh Chihuahua from Beverly Hills, Chihuahua. And that was his gimmick. And that was my partner. It was it was like so goofy. It was so goofy. Okay. I'm going to wrap that up. That's all you need to see there. That was it, folks. That was my first match in its entirety from 15 years ago today. And the funny thing is, on the 10-year anniversary of that match, so 5 years ago, was the day that this channel hit 100,000 subscribers. So it was really crazy. Those two things happened to coincide on the exact same day. So March 12th is a very important day for me. And so, yeah, it's been a wild ride since then. Like, wrestling school was very interesting to be the first, it was me and one other dude named Aaron. And the reason we were the only two there was because there was like one other guy who trained, but like there was no one else for a while. So like this kind of put it on ice for a bit. But we were the first two new ones of the new class. And, it was me and Buddy and Ed and Aaron. And it was the four of us just kind of like shooting the shit a little bit, like Buddy and Ed kind of walking us through like what psychology is, and we had a few drills and stuff. Like we did these kind of early bumps where like one person's on their hands and knees, like in the referee position, and then you kind of like flip over them, you kind of hook their torso with your arms and you kind of roll and flip. And we did that, and then like we would just kind of learn to bump in the ring, and we had a nice ring too. Like I miss that ring. It was like one of the softest ones I ever bumped in. And then, then the school grew from there, and we all had our different speeds and stuff. A few people got looked at, like one student, Caden Matthews, got looked at, had a job match against Finley when SmackDown came to Portland, I believe 2006 or 05. Yeah. And so it was, it was a fun school, but yeah, I think, I don't know, Buddy and Ed taught me a lot of great stuff, but I don't know how good of like actual trainers they were. I don't mean to bury them because I love them, but like there's a lot of things when I see what other schools and teachers do, I'm like, oh, like I kind of wish I had that. I wish I was pushed more to do that sort of thing. Because one thing they didn't teach you at Buddy and Ed's was they didn't teach you calisthenics. They said that's on you. It's up to you to get in shape. Like we will teach you the fundamentals and stuff. And I think that philosophy is also good as well. Okay, I've gone on enough, and we'll get back to that in a minute. I know some people have some career-related questions, so I'm going to go through these super chats as fast as I can. Heisensall, $5. Is WrestleMania 11 still worse than 9? After recently, I would believe that yes, Mania 11 is worse. Check that review out if you haven't, by the way. WrestleMania 11. If DSP and King Cobra were to wrestle, who would be the heel and who'd be the babyface? Oh shit, who was? I forget. Someone told me what DSP stood for a couple weeks ago, and I forget. I don't know who King Cobra is, so I'd say, match doesn't get started, big schmaz, and then like just referee pull apart. Trakes, he did a $5, then a $10 super chat. Happy anniversary. Have 5, have 10. Thank you very much, Trakes. Really appreciate you and your continued support here on the live streams. David Matushak asks, do I feel bad for the Ducks losing to State? Which state? We lost to a lot of states in the last several years. We lost to Penn State. We lost to Ohio State. I think we lost to Michigan State at least once. Yeah, but at the time I didn't. Well, Rose Bowl '94. I don't know if I cared so much. Like my mom cared. She went to U of O, and I hadn't gone yet, obviously. But I was very young then and didn't quite understand football yet. Let's see here. Quote the Raven 79. KO loves his KO Mania shirts. Zayn versus KO would be a great Mega Powers Explode parody shirt. When am I reviewing Mania 5? Someday. I don't know the answer to that one, but I'd love to see like some kind of rekindling or some kind of reimagining of Mega Powers with like KO and Zayn would be hilarious. I agree. Parker Soul saying $5. Happy 15th. Thank you. Taco Boy 2002. What scares me heading into WrestleMania 37? I don't really know if scared is the right word. I just don't, this build doesn't feel like WrestleMania to me. And I don't know if it's because I'm not as personally invested in it because I'm not going this year. Like, even though there's opportunity to, I refuse. Like, there's no way. You would not catch me dead in Florida right now. So I don't know if it's that or it's just like, yeah, it's like Thunderdome fatigue or just really not a whole bunch of terrific matches I'm looking forward to. Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons, but yeah, I'm just like not digging this Mania. I was digging last year's a lot more, and this year's it's like there's something about it I'm not really feeling it. Parker Soul saying $5. Can you describe the feeling of walking into the stadium to my seat and seeing that year's WrestleMania set for the first time? Which year? I forget what we're talking about because like the first Mania I went to was 19, and the first feeling of being in that environment, because I'm like, I wasn't a sports fan growing up. I didn't really have a chance to go to baseball or football games. It wasn't really something I cared about. So like I have not really had the huge arena sports experience before. So to like be there, like 18 years old, senior in high school, and walking in Mania 19 for the first time, 54,000 people, was really really cool. And so it was really overwhelming. And like every year when I walk, even the pay-per-views I would go to and stuff, just walking in would be like, it was just a really cool. Like it takes your breath away, especially the WrestleManias. Let's see here. I'm gonna block you. You're a mean person. Whoever you are. The Willmeister. And by the way, David Matuszek chimes in. He was referring to Oregon State in the semis. I don't follow basketball. The Willmeister, $15. Happy 15th. Should we expect something special, like a gaming stream, song, or me reviewing the show I debuted at? Or the WWE Girls Gone Wild pay-per-view. I think you've been pitching that to me for a while, Willmeister. Thank you very much. Yeah, gaming streams are on ice for right now because like what I was trying to do to make them work in here didn't work. So I need to figure it out, basically. But like, yeah, the show I debuted at, I mean, I don't have the rest of it on camera. It was literally just that match. So, let's see here. That's how I roll. 199. Is this D-Bry story filler or something more for WrestleMania? I mean, clearly, it seems to be angling toward Daniel being added to the match and for a triple threat. And so we'll have to see. But like, I would hate to see like this thing happen at Fastlane and then him not being anywhere in that scene. Like, what would his fallback be? Like, there's like nothing else that's really like set up for him right now that I could really perceive him. Another match with Jey Uso. Ooh boy, sign me up. Flame. Hang on. Oh shit. Here we go. Flame Inc. Flame Incorporated. $5. Good job, Brian. Thanks, Flame Inc. What was my favorite moment? Mine was you getting to banter and have fun with Adam Blampier or hanging with Jim Cornette. Oh, it's like, what's my favorite moment been on the channel? I think like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff I've done, man. Like, I think that's what's really what's most fascinating about my career, which like has not been that storied, or it wasn't, I think, before the channel. It wasn't, I was a pretty good manager, but I was only getting so much work. And then when I moved to Reno, I actually, there's 1 year that's like, there's no bookings because, I was a camera guy here in Reno for a while. For some reason, they didn't want me to be manager yet. And I wasn't making the trip out to California for a little bit until like a few months after I had moved. And then I started working more California shows. But yeah, it was It's been crazy because then the channel's picked up and I've gotten so many cool opportunities to wrestle or be involved in wrestling still. Like the fact that I've still been kind of able to stick it out is like kind of a miracle. And I've met a lot of great people. I'm trying to think, yeah, what's the coolest thing for me? Wrestling at the Cow Palace is probably the coolest experience I've had wrestling, like bar none. To be in that arena where like so many legends in wrestling and other sports as well have been in, and being in that tag team match was really cool. I remember just trying to get in real good shape for that one. And even then it wasn't perfect, but I worked hard for that one. And yeah, just being able to defend the tag titles in that handicap match against a bunch of guys who were just doing so great still. Like, Levi still kicking ass, the YouTube champion and the Unified TV champion. And Will Hobbs is doing great for himself in AEW. And just that whole experience was really cool. First independent show at the Cow Palace in like 30 years. It was an unbelievable experience, and that is one I will always keep with me. And Pat Patterson was actually at ringside for that one. And I distinctly remember I don't want to fuck him in front of Pat Patterson, and I still did. So your dreams can happen to you too. Monkey Man 58, $5. Happy anniversary, Bryan. I'm glad you allowed me to be part of the sarcastic side of your comment section, and let me call it the SmackDown summary. Well, for you, Monkey Man, tonight, it's the SmackDown summary. You've earned it. Jason Addison, $1.99, and a big red thumbs up. I didn't even know they came in that color. And now I'm caught up to these ones, so we can pull these up. Mariano Velasquez, 20 Mexican dollars. Just wanted to say thank you. Big hello from Mexico. Well, thank you very much. Ooh, this is a good question here. That's caught my eye. Scariest bump I've taken. There's one of me taking, it's called a Riz bomb, but it's basically two guys tossed me in the air, and I'm so kind of like splayed out like this. Like, imagine like I am parallel to the ring, and I'm like being thrown up in the air, and they catch you and they bring you down with a power bomb and a neck breaker at the same time. And when it hits just right, it feels amazing. The first one I took from them was perfect, and it was like it was never replicated again. I took two more from them like later on, and they sucked. And the last one, it was like ass back or ass head hitting the ground, and my back was just like in the worst shape. That was the scariest bump I'd taken. Actually, no, it's not true. The DDT I took from Dave Dutra a year or two ago was the scariest because I didn't have time to post. And so I came down right on my noggin and heard my neck go crunch. And I thought I was dead or my neck was broken, but I wasn't. I was very lucky about that. But I was like, I probably should not take this move anymore. It was scary, man. That was the scariest bump I've taken for sure. Where are we? Here we go. Shambly Games. What was it like when I took my first bump? That was a really cool, I mean, it's hard to remember like the exact feeling I felt. As I do, I pop my back as I do that. Yeah, it was scary. I think once you get the first bump, like you'll know whether or not you are okay with it. And like, I can't say I liked it. I think the thrill of doing it and like getting back up and like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this. Like that woke me up. I think that was a really cool moment. So it's kind of scary. And I think the first time, like, first things we did was like the rolling bump. But then the first time I did a flat back bump, it was cool. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. Let's see here. Just scrolling through some of these chats here, these comments. The Bucks fans zip tied to the support beam. I know, right? It was a hot day there. What's it like taking a chop? Depends on who you take it from. This dude I worked a lot with on and off was named G-Shock, and he lit me up with chops. He lit everyone up with chops. His chops were probably the scariest for me. For sure. Parker Soulsang back again. Any update on Regret in the Peacock service? Let's just say I have preemptively ripped a lot of pay-per-views I'm going to be covering in the next couple of months just to have them, because I don't know like how I'll get them in the future. I'm sure there's other ways to get in than what I'm doing, but yeah, as far as I know, things are still good. Like, pray for me. Luckily, the first few things we're doing for season 11 are not dependent on the network. So that's kind of nice. Ken terminated by DQ. Has any worker stiffed me? Plus, would I have started this channel without managerial experience? I mean, that question is hard to say because, you know, life takes you in so many different directions. And so I don't know, maybe if I didn't stick with wrestling as a performer, maybe I wouldn't have had the gumption to, you know, put my kind of performance skills to the test with this channel. I don't know. It's crazy where life takes you is all I'm gonna say. Has anyone stiffed me? Like, not really. Like the G-Shock thing I told you about, like he kind of would do some stuff. He would take some liberties with chops and stuff like early on for me. Like, has anyone ever stiffed me? Like, no, not intentionally, not really. And nothing where it's like it could be easily controlled. I think the scariest thing that I took that wasn't a bump was this wrestler named Rick Luxury hit me with a top rope leg drop and his like full ass right on my head. Like he totally overshot me. And that sucked. But like, no, I don't think anyone stiffed me that I can recall. I was treated pretty nice, I guess. Duelist Abe, happy anniversary. Has my top 8 favorite wrestlers changed since the video? Yes. And I definitely want to update that list. I just, I've never gotten around to like sitting down and really thinking about it, but I do want to update that one. Do I have any special chairs from an event? No, I never wanted to spend the money for the special chairs. Like, what am I going to do with a chair? It's a chair. The people who collect them, though, more power to you, man. Jacob Donnelly, completely random question. What's probably the worst TNA pay-per-view? I don't know, man, because like I mean, I'll leave this to the floor because I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I've not seen enough, but I mean, I've seen Victory Road, whatever one Jeff Hardy and Sting was, and I got Victory Road 09 somewhere in the future. I'm not going to tell you when, but I know that's been considered a bad one. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you, but I'm sure other people will tell you what the worst one would be. I bet you have classic promos. I didn't cut that many promos, honestly. There's one that I'm recording a regrettable match next week, which features a promo, so you get to hear some of that, my rare promo abilities. So, yeah. That's how I roll. Good job on 15 years, BZ. If Christian, a future AEW champ, we'll see, stuck with WWE, how badly would Roman Reigns have beaten it up to get sympathy for Edge? Yeah, I think that's what, you know what, honestly, that's what they would have used Christian for in this build. I don't think they would have utilized him as a wrestler. I think they would have had him be just kind of a pawn in the game for Edge and Reigns. And so that wouldn't have been right. So maybe it's a better thing that Christian's in AEW now. Crimson Jones, happy anniversary. Question coming from a guy from ATL. Do I see a future WrestleMania in ATL considering how bad WrestleMania 27 bombed? You know what? The gate doesn't say it bombed. The revenue that came from that show didn't say it bombed. That's all I'm going to say. We will see WrestleMania in Atlanta again, but just for the love of God, keep Michael Cole out of it. Legfish 420, 499. Hey, boy, much love from the Legfish. Congrats for 15. Heart, thank you very much, Legfish. I appreciate it. Victory Road 06. Victory Road 11 was Hardy debacle. What are we seeing here? The one with Charmel versus Jenna. Yeah, that one's coming up. Steiner Sacrifice. Quinn Vasquez, $5. Your channel got me back into wrestling. I left in 2015 and didn't come back until January of this year. Wow. Well, thank you very much, Quinn. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad to hear my stuff could help you get back into wrestling. I hear that comment so much, and it's just like it blows me away. That, you know, I had that my videos had that kind of impact on people. So yes, it means a lot to hear that. Thank you very much. Let's see here. If I never became a wrestling fan, what would I be doing right now? I don't know, man. Because like, let me tell you, my life is defined by a series of like manias and like obsessions, which is something that comes with, I sound so refined right now, but it comes with like, you know, a thing of Asperger's is having like this obsessive like devotion to one thing at a time, basically. And literally my arc was like, until I was like 7 or 8, it was Ninja Turtles, right? And then like from that point until I was in like 6th grade, it was Power Rangers. And then from like 7th grade to sophomore year, from 7th grade to like 8th grade, or no, 6th to 8th, it was like Star Wars and South Park were like head to head. And then from like 98 on, it's been wrestling. So I don't know if like what the next Mania would have been if wrestling went away for me. So I don't know. It's fun to think about that though. Joe Max Games, I'm sorry. What was my official debut? Because I thought it was against Paul Isadora. Yes, like I mentioned, like the match with Isadora was kind of my canonical first match for a while because it was my first TV match, and it was also I had the footage for it. I didn't know. I thought I had lost the footage, the Buzz and Buzz match forever. Then I found it, and then I could reintroduce it. So I think the Isadora match is a better story for the debut because it's the big versus little guy. And I took this ridiculous fucking choke slam bump for it. So more fun visually for that one for sure. Let's see here. Mike Borsum, $5. This is another $5 plug for Grunt the Wrestling video you totally want to make. I do want to make it. I don't know how because it's not a bad movie. Like I've been watching, I'm like, this is funny. How can I already make fun of something that's like already taking the piss out of itself? But I do want to talk about it for sure. Legfish had to donate again because I'm his favorite YouTuber. Thank you, Legfish. Oh, skipped one. Guy Man Guy, $10. Where do I even start to try to get into wrestling? And do you think I should wait or start now? I'm in New York, by the way. Well, I don't know how old you are, Guy Man Guy, but it's never too late to start getting into it. Like, just depends on how your body feels and where you are mentally and like emotionally and physically, of course. I think is the best one. So, yeah, man, like get into it, find a good school, find, the best schools. You look at who's graduated from there, not so much like what the trainer has done in wrestling, because that almost plays no part of it unless they've been like a journeyman for a long time or they know their stuff. Honestly, the best wrestling teachers out there are like jobbers, honestly, because like they're the ones who are like they're in a position where they can work for a long time because they know how to work and make everyone look good. So I think that's a really lost art. And like I've said it before, like look at all of the head trainers in the Performance Center, like except for Adam Pearce before he got called up to being like a producer, like no one from there is a world champion, like except for Pearce when he was NWA champ. So that's why people got mad, like Bill DeMott, like, oh, why can't Ricky Steamboat be a trainer? Well, maybe he doesn't want to be a teacher. I don't know. Jerome Felix, happy anniversary. Will I ever review Collision in Korea? Yes, someday. Also, any tips for anyone who's wanted to get into pro wrestling? Well, like I said, like just be a good listener, good worker, work hard. Keep your mouth shut and your eyes and ears open is something that I tell a lot of people now, but I wish I had done more of. Let's see here. First Love. How do I handle trolls on my live stream? Do I just block and ignore? I mean, I'm lucky to see most of them, honestly, because what my eyes usually just go to the colored super chat things. I'm drawn to that more than I see the non-paid ones, sadly, because I know there's a lot of good ones out there, but excuse me, I'm not going to read them. Although I will read this one from Pygmalion, who's a big fan. Facing a really rough breakup 2 years ago. Well, I appreciate that, Pygmalion. Thank you very much. Mr. Frontman, 2,500 Culps. Congratulations. I love your reviews about Ultimate Warrior and McMemphis. Oh, it's Chile. Learned a lot of wrestling. Thank you very much, Mr. Frontman. I appreciate that. And like I always, one of my favorite responses to a video, no matter what the video is how somebody learned something they didn't know about with wrestling. Like the McMemphis video was like so great because it really opened a lot of people's eyes up to this piece of history. And I felt so proud that like the video came out the way that it did and was received the way that it did. And the next week's video, or is it? Yeah, next week's video is going to be just like that too. Where I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot for sure. Dark Sins 965. Did I ever work a show and not get paid? Oh yeah, definitely. As recently as like 5 or 6 years ago, until I finally decided to stop caring about those shows and only work shows that would pay me. The least I ever got paid was like $10, and that was a Bay Area show. And I think they did it because they felt bad for me. Did I ever get paid with food? Or yeah, the old hot dog and handshake thing is very real in many places, and so I definitely had that. Everyone did, I was spoiled because the first gig I actually worked, I was a ring announcer for this one and done fed in Oregon that used all of Buddy's and Ed's students, and I was the ring announcer for that. And I got paid like $50, and I was like, sweet, it's set for life. Duelist Abe, fantasy trade one WWE or NXT star for one AEW star. Ooh. Adam Cole for Adam Page. Why not? I wake up and I choose violence. This is going to be my last question here. Mr. Frontman, did I fix my issues with Jim Cornette? No, and I don't really care. Like, that's the best answer I have. Like, I got my anger out of my system. Like in that video I did, I was done. I just kind of like, okay, I'm emotionally like, I'm done now. But of course, it's there forever. And so people think I still have the, that feeling. And it's, it is what it is. Like, I probably could have handled it a bit differently, but I don't know. I don't feel brokenhearted that I don't have Jim Cornette's like endorsement anymore. I just feel like it was what it was, and it was great to work with him, but we became just too much opposed, and I could only tolerate so much of his stuff. And then finally it's like, it took him to, lash out at me to realize, oh, it's like, what, this guy's kind of an asshole. And like, I was kind of like denying it for a long time. Like, yeah, he's an asshole. And like, it's sad. It really is sad. Like, I agree with a lot of what he says. I agree with a lot of his philosophies in wrestling, but it's hard to digest all that anger all the time. I hate being angry. It's not great to feel angry all the time. I don't thrive on that. And so, and it's just the negativity and shit, even though it's wrestling with regret, it's like, I can still, see the good in things. And, philosophically in modern wrestling, we have different tastes and stuff. And like, I don't want to be, it's like, again, I get a lot with what he's saying. I do. But also it's like, why do I want to be part of the club with that angry fuck? I don't want to be brought down by negative people. And it just feels like he's just negative all the time. And like people say, oh, well, he does put some things over. Yeah, well, what the hell are people going to him for? Are people following him for his positive and nuanced views on wrestling? No, you go there because he likes to yell and curse and call everybody every name in the book. That's why people like Jim Cornette, because he's the angry old man, and he just keeps it going because he knows that's what gets him paid. So he's going to keep buying into that. So yeah, he wakes up and he chooses chaos. He chooses violence and stuff. I try not to do that. I try and be the opposite of that. And so I just try and keep negative shit out of my life. And that's exactly how I feel about Jim Cornette. Joe Max Games. What's my personal favorite match I've been involved in? Again, Cow Palace match, the tag team title match. It was just, being able to have a really cool once in a lifetime experience. So can't beat that. With that, folks, I'm going to wrap this one up. Did I miss one? Hang on. Jason Addison from 924 super sticker. I missed that somehow, but thank you very much, Jason. Thank you guys so much for your support. 15 years in wrestling. It's just been really cool. Like, it's not been the most illustrious career, at least not until the last like 4 years or so, when it's been really picking up and stuff. I feel like I'm hitting like a renaissance period, or I was pre-pandemic, and hoping to get back into it, man. Like, I miss shows, I miss gigs, and I love wrestling a lot, as you know, but most of all, I love being a performer, and wrestling has just been one of my outlets for so long. And I want to get back into it, because really at the end of the day, it's all I know. That and video production. What else do I got? But thank you guys so much for making it possible and just helping things keep going. Like I said, this is also the anniversary of 100,000 subscribers, and that's kind of what put me over the edge and got me kind of where I am now. So thank you all very much for your support these many years. And here's to hopefully 15 more years of wrestling. How about that? Always remember, the influencer loves you. I'm Bryan Zane, and I'll see you next time.